Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Wes here with Great East Space. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about the best fantasy defenders we have in the MLS. This is part 2 of the series. If you missed part 1, go check that out. We got ranks 1 through 10 there. Starting here with 11, we got Jonathan Mensah, the Rock center back in Columbus Crew. They won the MLS Cup last year, so very strong side with a really good defense, really good team overall. Expected to be really good again this year. Jonathan Mensah will be a big part of that. I really like him this year. Really solid player. As you can see, he has a very high floor, but also has the potential to put up some big weeks. So he is a good option for you. We got Jalen Lindsay here at number 2. This is a little bit of a riskier, kind of high upside pick. He's only 20 years old. He came on at the end of last year. They were really strong. Plays for Kansas City. Really good young player. And if he kind of takes that step and establishes this spot as the starter, could see a lot of big things out of him this year in fantasy. Okay, as I'm going through this list, a couple things to consider. This is a starting point. Do your own research, especially if you're investing money. You want to be informed and make decisions with, all the information. This is just something to kind of help you get started. All platforms score differently. So if you're playing Draftkings or you're playing Fanduel, that'll be different than if you're playing SoRare, which is where the majority of my background is. That's where a lot of the research that I have done kind of has been focused on. So do your own research. Make sure you know the scoring platform or the way that your platform scores different actions, as defenders. So, if you only need goals and assists and that's what counts, make sure you're getting guys that are pushing up, probably your fullbacks, not your center backs. But this is another thing, right? So this has nothing to do with the value of the players. So if you're playing a game mode where you have a salary cap, I'm not taking that into account. This is strictly just based on point potential. And let me know who I missed in the comments. Like I said, part 1's already out. Go check that. Part 2 here today. We'll wrap this up. And then I've got part 3 coming. But if you haven't seen the guys that you like, let me know in the comments. All right. Number 13, Keegan Rosenberry. Really good wingback. Plays for Colorado. He's got that big upside, but he also has a pretty safe floor. So I think he's a really good option for you this year. Number 14, Francisco Calvo. So he does an awesome job. He's a center back that I really like. Plays for the Fire, Chicago. This is a guy that I'm a big fan of, and I'm going to be trying to get so I can use him in some of my lineups this year. Number 15, Chris Mavinga. Awesome defender, plays up in Toronto, really kind of holds everything together for them. They've got some more deliberate players, kind of in the midfield, not the fastest foot speed. So he cleans up a lot of mistakes on the back end. He was in the running for MLS Defender of the Year last year. Super high floor, not as much of the upside, but I think he is a really, really good option. I've got him in my SoRare lineup, and I'm very excited about it. I think he's a great player. All right, number 16, Alex Callens. Plays up in New York. Really good player. Has a pretty, not a lot of variance week to week. He's kind of in that, if we're talking about SoRare scores, in that 40 to 60 range. He very rarely drops below that. He's got a few outlier games where he'll be a little bit above or below, but he's got pretty consistent. You kind of know what you're going to get with him. Good option there. All right, number 17, Eddie Segura. I think he's a great player. I think he's got a lot of upside. If you kind of look at this graph, right, the first half of the graph is 2019 season, and you can tell he did a lot better than kind of the previous season or the season after that, right? The right side of that graph is 2020. Didn't perform quite as well in terms of kind of the scores he was receiving. So he plays for LAFC. They kind of took a step back last year, had some injury issues. It was also, COVID season. Another big part, I think, is he kind of lost his defense partner. He had Walker Zimmerman, who went to Nashville as part of the Nashville expansion team. Go Nashville SC. That's my hometown team. Big fan. So glad we got him. He was actually number 1 on our list. If you didn't see that video, go check it out. So anyways, Eddie Segura, I think he has the potential to have a bounce back year. Some rumors of him being sold, as a pretty big prospect. I don't know if that would be into South America or potentially overseas into Europe, but he's a really, really good prospect. One of the best center backs in the MLS. It's just a matter of if he's going to kind of have the team around him that's going to allow him to perform at the highest level. As a center back, it's kind of hard. You can't really dictate everything that happens. You're kind of dependent on the team around you for a lot of what's going to kind of dictate your scoring. All right, number 18, Lawless Abubakar. Good option here, I think. Plays for Colorado in the back. Not my favorite option, but I think he's, provides some upside and has a pretty safe floor as well. So definitely not a bad option. Number 19, Romain Métanire. I think he's a really solid option. He was one of the first SoRare cards I picked up. I've since moved on from him. Not because I didn't like him, not because I don't think he has upside. I just, had some other guys I had my eye on and decided to make that switch. So I think he's a really good option, though. Plays for Minnesota in the back, is a fullback, gets up, participates in the attack. I think with Minnesota, they have Ike Opara, who is one of the best center backs, but he's, come out and he has some concussion issues, so there's concern around his future being able to play. And if he doesn't have Ike Opara behind him, I think that limits how much he's going to be able to kind of roam freely, just because he won't have that rock in defense behind him. So a little bit of concern there, but I think he's still a really solid option going into this year. And number 20, Richie Larea, excuse me. Also plays up in Toronto with Chris Mavinga. He does not have a SoRare card, so that's why you have the question mark there. I could have gotten a picture of him, but I thought that was kind of a funny way to do it. So if you're playing SoRare, that's something to kind of keep an eye on, right? When they release the 2021 cards, maybe put this guy in your back pocket so it's someone you can keep an eye out for. I think he's a really, really strong defender, though. Really good option. Toronto is consistently a really good team, so I think he is a really good option for you as you are kind of looking at someone maybe a little bit further down on the list. This could be a guy to keep your eye out for. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for this video. Part 3, I'm going to round it out, look at some guys, maybe a little bit more on kind of the value spectrum, not your big hitters that you're going to see every week on the leaderboards, but I think there's still some really good value to be had. So we're going to get into that list. I think I've got about 15 more names that I want to run through, so that'll come in part 3. So keep an eye out for that. If there's someone you are hoping to see, let me know in the comments, and maybe they'll be in there. If you got value out of this, hit the like button, subscribe. Got a lot more good content coming. Midfielders, forwards, goalies, rest of this series, and a lot more content in general as we progress through the MLS season.